Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Commander's Forge. My name is Andy Bentley, and the Forge is an area for me to talk about magic, Commander, and anything else while I try to make this whole mental health thing work out. Spoiler alert, it's not. So today, I just kind of want to go over what I've been doing with magic, and then maybe talk about a deck at the end. So, with weather turning nicer, I am trying to make a more conscious effort to get up to Friday Night Magic every week. And this has been a good way to also, test my decks, play something new. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. I've missed getting up there, but it's really hard in the winter months because you just never know what the roads are going to look like between here and there, considering on a good day it's about an hour away. So, yeah, I'm trying to, get back into being a familiar face at my LGS, which is WNY Gaming up in Hamburg on Southwestern. So, yeah, I'm just trying to play more Magic again. And during the winter months, that kind of falls to the wayside. So, it's also let me test out a couple decks that have been sitting on the shelf, like my my Gates deck. I've kind of found I like playing that in the second Commander game. So the way my LGS runs Commander is they do an early Commander at 6:30, and then they do a late Commander at 8:30. And again, I live an hour away. So, my thought is, if I play my Gates deck, and I give people this warning when we sit down, I say, hey, I'm playing 5-color Gates. I'm just trying to get as many Gates out as fast as possible and win with Maze's End. That is like my number one and kind of only win condition in the deck. So, I just, let them know. I'm going to try and do this. You guys are going to try and stop me, or you're going to try and do your own thing. But if I win early, it means I get to go home early. If I lose early, I get to go home early. So it doesn't matter if I win or lose this round. So, that said, I've really enjoyed that deck. I do have a couple things I want to change about it. And by that, I don't think it's bad. But, I have Jared Carthelian as the commander right now. And I've only ever cast him 5 times. So I might look into a different 5-color commander just to stick at the top. I did think about, the 5-color Omnath, but he really cares about black mana, and that's not highly represented in that deck. I mean, I could do Progenitus just to have a 10/10, but it doesn't seem like the way to go either. But yeah, so I'm just kind of able to sit and retool decks. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Now, I will say, again, my LGS is an hour away. I do prefer to support them over ordering online from Cool Stuff or something like that. But again, I'm an hour away and they don't always have what I'm looking for. So, as much as I do endorse going to your local game stores, I've went to every local game store within a reasonable driving distance, and nobody has had an Amulet of Vigor. So I had to order it online. That's just the nature of the beast. Anyway, I think I'm gonna cut off what's been going on here, and when we come back, I'm gonna talk about dropping some bombs. And welcome back. Now, we're going to talk about a deck I have that I've had together for a little bit and I've done some retooling on. I call it Droppin' Bombs. So, it's a partner commander deck in Jeskai. My main commander is the War Doctor, which is 2 a red and a white for a 3/5 Time Lord Doctor. Whenever one or more other permanents phase out, and whenever one or more other cards are put into exile from anywhere, put a time counter on the War Doctor. Then whenever the War Doctor attacks, it deals damage equal to the number of time counters on it to any target. If a creature dealt damage this way would die, exile it instead. So it can start exiling creatures itself to put more counters on it, but that's not necessarily where I'm looking to aim the damage. Now, his Doctor's Companion is Adric Mathematical Genius. Because this gives me blue, which is what I needed for most of what I wanted for this deck, which was phasing out. So Adric Mathematical Genius is 1 and a blue for a 1/1 Human Artificer. For 2 and a blue, you can tap him to copy target activated or triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. So the goal is attack with the War Doctor, pay 3, tap Adric, and I get to dome 2 people or 1 person twice. It also has Ultimate Sacrifice for 1 and a blue, and sacrificing him, you can counter target activated or triggered ability. So I figured that's also decent to have, and that's why I ended up with him. Now, it is good to note that it says whenever you exile from anywhere, but it doesn't specify you. So, like, if you have an opponent doing impulse draw stuff, you still put counters on him. So, I did focus a lot of my removal on exiling with things like Raven Form, which is 2 and a blue for a sorcery, exile target artifact or creature. Its controller creates a 1/1 bird creature token with flying, but it also has Foretell for a blue. I've got Reality Shift for that same thing. 1 and a blue, instant, exile target creature, its controller manifests the top card of their library. So that was one way I wanted to do it. I also wanted, some impulse draw stuff. So the 2 I pulled to kind of reference that are Vance's Blasting Cannons. 3 and a red for a legendary enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. If it's a non-land card, you may cast that card this turn. Whenever you cast your 3rd spell in a turn, you can transform it. I'm never planning on transforming it, and that is a May ability, so it's just never going to happen. The other one I have is Visions of Phyrexia. 2 red for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. So the difference between here and Vance's Blasting Cannons is you can play lands off of this one. But at the beginning of your end step, if you didn't play a card from exile this turn, create a tapped Power Stone. So a lot of times that's only triggering if I, exile a land, but I have a better land in hand to play to fix colors. So, but that's why it's there. Now, one of the things I wanted to be able to do in this deck is attack with my commander. And that, a few things went into being able to get that attack trigger. Some of them are, equipment, like Robe of Stars. 1 and a white for an equipment. Equipped creature gets +0/+3. So it just makes him that much harder to kill in combat damage because it gives him 8 toughness. But it also has Astral Projection. For 1 and a white, equipped creature phases out. So if we need to save him, we can. If we want to get more of the time counters on the Doctor, we can put this on Adric or another creature we have, and just phase them out every turn to get another counter. It also equips for 1. But to that, there's also Flicker Form, which is 1 and a white for an enchantment aura, enchant creature. You can pay 2 white to exile the enchanted creature and all auras attached to it. At the beginning of your next end step, you return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. If you do, return the other cards exiled this way to the battlefield under their owner's control attached to that creature. So we have some stuff in here that's just trying to make the Doctor unblockable or harder to block. And that's what the next two kind of fit that theme too. The first one is Aqueous Form. It's blue for enchantment aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature can't be blocked. And whenever enchanted creature attacks, scry 1. And then we also have the Spirit Mantle. 1 and white for an enchantment aura, enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has protection from creatures. But this is not a Voltron deck, as much as parts of it seem like it. This is just a weird collection of cards that let me phase stuff out. I did pull a Thrumming Bird to talk about. 1 and a blue for 1/1 Phyrexian Bird, horror flying, but when it deals combat damage to a player, proliferate. So that's... I don't have a ton of proliferate in this deck, but that is another way we can get extra time counters on the Doctor. But no, we're here to talk about phasing out. And you can't phase out without looking at some very old cards. So first up, I have Voldalian Illusionist. It's 2 and a blue for a 2/2 summon Merfolk. You can pay blue and tap it to have target creature phase out. The nice thing about a lot of these phase out cards is they don't have to target your stuff. Next up we have Vanishing. Single blue for an enchant creature, and for blue enchanted creature phases out. Reality Ripple. 1 and a blue for an instant. Target artifact, creature, or land phases out. Vision Charm. Single blue for an instant. Choose 1. Target artifact phases out. Or put the top 4 cards from target player's library into his or her graveyard. Or all lands of one type are basic lands of your choice until end of turn. This is actually in here for 2 reasons. 1, it can phase out an artifact. 2, it can mana fix me for 1 turn. Next up, we have the Sapphire Charm. Single blue, instant. Choose 1. Target player draws a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep, which is decent. Or target creature an opponent controls phases out. Also decent. Or target creature gains flying until end of turn. So again, this can also help the War Doctor get through. Alright, I've got 3 more things that let me do some phasing out, and then I think I'm going to wrap it up there because I'm kind of pressed for time today. First up, I have the Guardian of Faith. 1 white for a 3/2 Spirit Knight with Flash, Vigilance, and when it enters the battlefield, any number of other target creatures you control phase out. So, again, this is really there to protect against like board wipes and stuff. You know, they try to wipe the board. I've got a War Doctor with like 12 counters on it. Flash into Guardian, phase out the War Doctor and Adric, and then next turn, just go ham. Next up we have the Spectral Adversary, which is 1 and a blue for a 2/1 spirit with Flash and Flying. When it enters the battlefield, you can pay 1 and a blue any number of times. When you do, put that many +1/+1 counters on the Spectral Adversary, then up to that many other target artifacts, creatures, and or enchantments phase out. So I kind of view this as a, yeah, we can, phase out our own stuff, But if we phase out, say, the 3 blockers that our last opponent has, we might be able to win the game right there. And then the last one I want to talk about is the Temporal Firestorm. This is the card that originally made me want to build this deck, because I'd had it, and every time I looked at it, I'm like, I just don't have a good place to put this. But now I do. So it's 3 red for a sorcery. But it has Kicker for 1 in a white and or 1 in a blue. Choose up to X creatures and or planeswalkers you control, where X is the number of times the spell was kicked. Those permanents phase out. Then it deals 5 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. So for 9 mana, which is 5 red, white, blue, I can phase out both of my commanders, do 5 to everything else, and then still have my commanders on the next turn. So, yeah. This deck does not have as much playtime as a lot of my other ones. So I'm hoping to get a few more games in with it. I might change up some things, but if I do, I feel like I have to cut the phasing stuff and just go hard into, like, impulse draw. And I don't really want to do that. But that said, that's where I'm going to leave it for today. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. All of my links can be found in my link tree in the description below. I would like to thank Ian Foss and Cody Mulpey of the band The Crypt for allowing me to use music for my opening and ending, along with Nate and Erica Jacobs for making my original logo. And I would also like to thank Christina McNichol for creating my new logo. And I'll see you next time.